Lucas Morgan was only 11 years old when his life changed forever. The fateful day he witnessed the accident that claimed his parents still echoed in his mind. Since then, he had become a shadow of the boy he used to be, his voice silenced by the weight of pain and trauma. The selective mutism that accompanied him was not just a condition. It was an invisible barrier that isolated him from the world around him. He communicated only with his grandmother, Eleanor, a strong and loving woman who did her best to fill the void left by the tragedy. Living in Chicago had its difficulties, but the city also offered a refuge for Lucas. He spent hours drawing, immersed in a world where he could express his feelings without having to utter a single word. Thus was born The Silent Circuit, a series of comics that told the story of a superhero who communicated telepathically with machines. It was a way for Lucas to cope with his own silence, transforming his pain into art. The pages of his comics were filled with adventures and challenges where the hero faced villains that, in some way, reflected his fears and anxieties. Eleanor, although worried about her grandson's emotional health, felt proud of his talent. When Lucas decided to sign up for the Chicago Young Artists Fair, she supported him unconditionally. The event was an unexpected success. Lucas's booth attracted the attention of many, including Alexander Voss, a technology billionaire known for his innovative vision and imposing presence. He offered $5 million for the rights to the work, praising the depth and originality of Lucas's work. However, something in Voss's demeanor awakened a protective instinct in Eleanor. The way he looked at Lucas, as if he were assessing more than just artistic talent, made her uneasy. Looking at the traits of the villains in Lucas's stories, she saw a disturbing resemblance to the figure who had fled the scene of the accident. Eleanor's mind began to connect dots that she would have preferred to leave unconnected. With the contract signed, Voss demanded weekly meetings with Lucas. The boy, although hesitant, saw an opportunity to explore his talent and perhaps find a way to reach the world around him. However, during these meetings, Lucas began to notice strange behaviors in the billionaire. Voss avoided eye contact and asked specific questions about the day of the accident, as if he were trying to understand more about what Lucas had witnessed. This excessive curiosity did not go unnoticed by Eleanor, who began to worry even more. Meanwhile, Lucas continued to develop his narrative in the comics. A new plot emerged, where his hero discovered the identity of the villain through footage from traffic cameras. It was a way for him to process what had happened, to seek answers that the real world seemed to deny him. Deep down, he knew there was something more behind Voss's intentions, and art became his refuge and his weapon. Eleanor, determined to protect Lucas, began to gather evidence. She could not ignore the possibility that Voss was connected to the accident. In one of her investigations, she found a black sports car in Voss's private garage, a sight that made her heart race. It was the same type of car she remembered seeing at the accident scene. With the help of Detective Rivera, who supported her in her quest for justice, she began to devise a plan. But she knew she needed irrefutable proof to confront Voss. Meanwhile, Lucas, without his grandmother knowing, documented everything in his comics, creating a narrative that mixed reality and fiction. He drew the encounters with Voss, the growing tension, and the feeling that something was about to happen. Each pencil stroke was a way to cope with fear and uncertainty. The night before a crucial meeting at Voss's mansion, Eleanor made an alarming discovery. The security footage showed a black car near the accident site, but the evidence was not conclusive enough to alert the police. At the mansion, Lucas came across a photograph of Voss next to a black car, and as he left the location, he accidentally dropped his sketchbook. The moment was tense. Upon seeing a detailed drawing of Voss's watch alongside a part of the car's license plate, the connection between them became undeniable. That night, the police executed a search warrant at the detailing shop mentioned by Voss. What they found was a car being repainted, which confirmed Eleanor and Lucas's suspicions. The case began to take shape, and the hope for justice seemed closer. Finally, in court, Lucas decided to break his silence. For the first time in 884 days, he stood up and began to describe the accident. Every word was a victory, a liberation. He spoke about his parents, about the black car, about Voss. The room was in absolute silence. As the truth emerged, and the billionaire, now exposed, could no longer hide his guilt. Voss was sentenced to 15 years in prison for involuntary manslaughter. Justice was served, but Lucas's journey was far from over. A year later, The Silent Circuit was released as a graphic novel, a work that not only told a story of superheroes, but also the quest for a voice after trauma. Eleanor watched Lucas sign books at his first convention, now with a strong and confident voice. He had found not only the courage to speak, but also the ability to heal. The foundation established with the compensation money offered therapy to traumatized children and funded safety improvements for the Ridgeway Bridge, a symbol of hope and renewal. In the final panel of The Silent Circuit, the hero was on a bridge at dawn, no longer silent or alone. The message was clear. The most powerful stories often emerge from those whom society considers invisible. And so, Lucas Morgan, with his art, not only found his voice, but also gave voice to many others.